Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Everything Ham Radio podcast. This is episode number 30. Today we're going to be doing a little something different than we normally do. I don't have a interviewee because of time constraints or schedule conflicts. So we're not going to have an interview today, so it's just going to be me. And also seeing that it's kind of late, it's Saturday now when I'm recording this. I don't have time to do what I used to do, because I used to start on Thursday and make up this whole big old blog post, do the research and all that. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different today, and I hope that you like it. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll let y'all figure out what we're going to be doing. So I hope you stay tuned. I hope you like it. We will announce the winner of the GMAG giveaway today, so stay tuned for that. And so stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is Curtis again with the Everything Ham Radio podcast. This is episode number 30, and like I said in the intro, we are doing something a little different. The past month or so, we've been doing interviews with some people. I had an interview set up, or had an interview planned for this episode. However, due to scheduling conflicts, it didn't happen. Hopefully I have interviews for the next couple episodes, but this one we're going to do just me. So, not having been able to do what I used to do and figure out exactly what I'm going to talk about and do research on it and stuff like that, we're going to talk more about some different topics, basically. It's going to be kind of like a hodgepodge type podcast episode this week. So, first off, we're going to talk about the first 30 episodes or so of this podcast. I can't believe that I'm actually number 30. I mean, it seems like I really haven't been doing it that long, and it's just, it's great that I've made it this long and had some great content. And especially the past couple weeks, I've been really, really pleased, really impressed with my stats that I pay attention to, and all of the new listeners I've gotten. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of you, to all of my old listeners, to all of my new listeners. Welcome aboard. And hopefully you will continue to listen to my podcasts further on. I've gotten several emails from people saying thank you for what I do, for putting the podcast together. I got one recently this past weekend from a gentleman that was studying to get his license, and he said, basically thank you for doing this, and it's been helping him out a bunch. So I love those types of emails. I love hearing from people that this is actually helping them. And the reason that I do this podcast is for several reasons. First and foremost, I really like to give back to the ham radio community. I like to be able to teach the next generation on different topics, things they can do, different aspects of the hobby, stuff like that. I love doing that. Teaching is probably one of my favorite things to do in this hobby. And the other part of it is, and I've told y'all this before, my wife and I, 2 years ago, I believe this last Thursday, we got our foster license, and we've been foster parents. Well, up until that point, or shortly before that point, I had an office. I had my desk with my computer. I had my ham station set up. I had a 65-foot tower in the backyard. I had a decent station, and I was able to get on the radio, talk to different people, do different things, and I was able to do stuff like that. Well, since we became foster parents, or since we got ready to become foster parents, all that's gone. I don't have my office anymore. Currently, I work either at my 9 to 5 job, or in the evening after the kids go to bed. And normally it's either at the kitchen table or in our playroom, sitting on the floor is where I've done a couple of my interviews. So it's not as easy for me to do things like that like I used to. And let me back up here a little bit, because it really even goes even further than that. Before I got married, coming up on 6 years now, August 29th. So I don't know, 3 weeks and a day, I think, until my 6th anniversary. Before that, being a bachelor, I had my own house, I had my own office, I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, with the exception of when I had to go to work and when I had to sleep. So I was able to do pretty much whatever I wanted to, like most bachelors do. And I had the equipment set up. I was able to talk on the radio with as loud as I wanted it to be, or I could talk as loud as I wanted to be whenever. And I worked nights a lot of times, so a lot of times I would do it in the middle of the night. And then I got married, and my priorities kind of changed. They shifted more towards family life than my personal life, and things that had to be done became more, and there wasn't as much time for hobbies, and I'm sure that any of y'all that are out there that have a significant other will agree with this and will understand where I'm coming from. When you're single, you do what you please. When you have somebody else that you are responsible for or responsible to, things tend to change. And so after I got married, my hobby of ham radio kind of went to the wayside for several years. And basically the only time that I would talk on it was during an event, or the occasional trip in my car. And even then was few and far between, because I will sadly admit that I went like a year or so with no radio in my car. And that was not fun. But, anyways, it's kind of a push and pull, I guess you could say, with having somebody else that you have to take care of. Because you get, your honey-do list, you get things that need to be done in a certain time frame on somebody else's time frame, and that's when it has to be done. So the things that I wanted to do had to be put on the back burner, and I was okay with that. We got a lot further on my house, doing some remodeling of it, decorating it, updating the landscaping outside, stuff that really probably could have been done beforehand, or maybe even should have been done beforehand, but being the bachelor that I was, I really didn't care so much what it looked like, as long as it was halfway decent. I didn't care that there was a flower bed in the front yard with flowers in it, or I didn't care that I had a big porch on the back and a decent size on the front, and Christmas lights during Christmas season, and decorations for Halloween, and going trick-or-treating or giving out candy or what have you. I didn't really care about that as a bachelor, but when I got married, my wife's priority became my priority. So I had to start caring about these things, which is good, which is all fine. I'm not complaining in the least. So we can move on, and the longer we were married, the more stuff that we ended up doing, the less time I had for the hobby. Well, we finally got to the point where I can actually start doing stuff more and learning stuff more. And, other priorities came to the forefront. Other hobbies came to the forefront. I was a a volunteer firefighter for about 2 years or so. And that took a lot of time because we were a pretty busy station. So my amateur radio hobby kind of fell to the wayside for quite a while. And luckily I was able to bring it back to the forefront. A lot saying because I am no longer a volunteer firefighter. And so, I need something else to do. And I need, amateur radio has always been my first love. I think I just passed 21 years as a ham. I believe it is. I think I got it in either 94 or 95. I don't remember which. So it's either 26, 27 years, something like that I've been a ham. And I haven't really done a whole lot. And there's a lot of aspects of this hobby that I don't know about, that I didn't know about, especially before I started my blog and my podcast. So, since I'm not able all the time to talk on the radio, to try out these other modes of amateur radio, these other aspects of amateur radio that I would like to do, I write about it, or I podcast about it. So, I've always wanted to write. I was on the school newspaper during high school, and it just, kind of came naturally to me. And I've always wanted to, write a book or, do something like that. And so one day I'm like, well, I think I'm going to start a blog and see if I can see where that takes me. So I went and I got I had the web space from another project that I was doing, so I went with it, and I got the domain name, and started up a blog. And about 3-4 months into it, it started to become more popular, and it started crashing every day, and I didn't understand why. Well, come to find out, the web host that I was using at the time, because the way that I was doing it, it was like an add-on site to the main site, they limited me to 250 megabits a day. So about 9-10 o'clock in the evening, my site would go down until the following day. So that was like no bueno. That did not work for me. So I had to go out and get me a full host and move my website to a full-blown host where they didn't monitor the traffic, they didn't monitor the website space or storage space or whatever. So I went with that, and I started my blog. And I would do, an episode a week or 2 episodes a week. I try to do 2 episodes a week, like on Thursday and Sunday, I think is what it was. And I did quite a bit. I covered everything from, I did a series on the technician class. I did a mini series on antennas. I did one on event training standards, like nets and message traffic, message handling, NIMS. I did stuff on community service. I did stuff on Aries and Races. I did stuff on the vanity call sign system, DTMF, towers, stuff like that. I did blog post on D-Star and System Fusion, Project 25, DMR, all this kind of things that I did on my blog post. And then right around October, I believe, of 2015, I started to listen to, at the time, the Photon Podcast, which is now Ham Radio 360. And I got to thinking, why couldn't I do something like that? Why couldn't I start up a podcast and record what I'm saying rather than type what I'm saying? Because I was trying to do the two blog posts a week, and then I added was going to add a podcast, and I'm like, okay, well, it takes me, 3 or 4 days to write a blog post and get it right, get it the way it reads good, and why not do something like a podcast where I can record it in 30, 45 minutes, maybe a couple hours with the editing and uploading and all that good stuff, and take a lot less time to do the same thing. So I thought, why not? So I did all the groundwork. I did all the, I laid out my episodes for the first quarter. I figured out what exactly I was going to do, how I was going to do it. I got the equipment that I needed. I bought me a headset. I got me, I found the program that I was going to use. I watched YouTube videos on how to do it, and got my intro, found some music, all that good stuff, and a logo for the podcast, and hit the ground running about the second, I believe it was the second Tuesday in January of this year, in 2016. And I didn't want to take away from the Photon Podcast, so I alternated my weekends. I was going to do just a bi-weekly one. And about two weeks into it, I guess, maybe, I was on, I believe it was episode 4. I figured, this is fairly easy. I can do this, fairly fast. Let's just do a weekly one. Let's do a weekly podcast, and that way I can get more information out. I can get more training done. I can get more people listening and enjoying what I'm doing a whole lot faster than I could at a bi-weekly one. And so I went to a bi-weekly one, and I laid out my episodes and started recording, and it did fairly well. And then, things changed. The way that I recorded changed. The way that I did the episodes changed several times over the whole course of the last 30 episodes. When I first started out, I was actually doing a news segment as well. So that kind of dropped to the wayside about episode 6 or 7, because I got to the point I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start recording these, a week ahead of time. And if I record these and the news segment is going to be in there, the news is going to be a week old before the podcast episode comes out. So that's not going to be very good. So I dropped the news segment. And so I went and had just, 20 minutes or so of what I was going to do on the topic of the day, and then have my amateur radio club spotlight. And that was all good. It kept it down to about 30-35 minutes, which is what I wanted. If I would have continued to do the news, it would have been 45, and at the time, I didn't want to go over 30 minutes. And the reason I didn't want to go over 30 minutes is because, if myself, as I'm driving to work, it takes me about 30 minutes. I'm sure other people have a longer commute than I do, and even I had a little bit longer commute there. But some of the other podcasts that I listened to, they were an hour and a half long, and it would take me, a trip to work and a trip home to listen to the whole episode. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted it to have something smaller, something that I could, listen to in one way, or that y'all, my listeners, could listen to in one way to your work. And so I figured about 30 minutes was good. And as a solo podcaster, not having somebody to interview, not having a co-host, it seemed about right. It seemed fairly easy. I was able to do the 30 minutes without problems. Went over sometimes. And, some of the episodes, I even had problems keeping to 30 minutes. So then, about June of this year, one of my listeners emailed me and said, hey, why don't you get in contact with an officer of the club that you're doing the spotlight on and do an interview with them? And that way it would be more informative, more personalized maybe, and maybe get a better idea of the club than what I was just able to get off their website. And that was a good idea. I really hadn't looked very much into doing the interview style podcast because of the way that I was limited on when I could record, my internet speed, stuff like that. Because a lot of times I'll have to do my interviews at work in my downtime between calls, and you might be talking and the phone ring or something, and I'd have to, basically say, okay, hold on a second, I'll be right back with you, and be, 5-10 minutes later, and that be a waste of time for them, and I didn't want to do that. I still really don't like doing that. But I do finally have a decent internet connection at work now, or at home now, that I'm able to do at least audio interviews. I still can't upload my episodes at home because that would eat a lot of bandwidth away, and I honestly don't have that much because I live out in the sticks and I don't have my unlimited wireless like I did before at my old house because I don't have my tower up yet. So now I'm doing this interview style thing, and I'm getting, I don't know if I'm getting really more episode or more listeners, more feedback because of the change the last month of the interview styles, because having the longer episodes than 30 minutes. I really don't know, because not a lot of people have said much of anything. So my request for all of you right now is please let me know what you think. What do you like? Do you like the longer episodes? Do you like the interview style over just the what they call the solo head type podcast like I'm doing now? Just basically talking at you instead of talking with somebody else. Do you like the older style? Do you like the solo head? Do you like the shorter episodes, the 30-45 minute episodes? Which do you like? So what I'm asking each of y'all to do in this episode, go to the show notes, and you can get there at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/30. That's the number 30. Head on over there, leave a comment below. Let me know what you like. Do you like the interview style? Do you like the solo style? Do you like 30-45 minutes? Do you like an hour? What kind of range works best for all of you? And that's what I'll do. That's what I'll end up doing. I'm kind of leaning towards doing a interview style one week and a solo the next week. Trying to keep my solo one up to about the same range, maybe 45 minutes or so on the solo one, and try to keep the interview style right about the same time frame as well, so that there's not 30 minutes one week and an hour and a half the next week. That would just not bode good. So I want to keep it about 45 minutes is what I'm thinking, 45 minutes to an hour, no matter which I do. If y'all like the interview style, if that is easier to listen to, if that is easier to learn from, rather than me just doing like a quote, I'm doing air quotes here, a lecture towards y'all, then, by all means, I will gladly do just interview styles. If you'd like the solo ones, great, I'll do that too. If you want to alternate them, I'll alternate one interview one week and a solo the next week. Just let me know in the comments of the show notes what y'all like. So, looking at the time, I think I'm going to take a quick break, get a couple announcements out of the way, and then we'll come back, and I'm going to talk about my club a little bit further. I did talk about this in episode 1 in the club spotlight, but I'm going to give you a little bit more of a backstory than just the general thing, the when the meetings are and stuff like that. I'm going to give you a little backstory, and this all goes with my history as a amateur radio operator. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about that. Are you looking for a new radio? Maybe a laptop or a tablet? Or maybe you're looking for a way to charge your batteries when there's no power? Gigaparts has stuff like this. Head on over to gigaparts.com and check them out. At checkout, use the coupon code of ETH030 to get $10 off a purchase of $150 or more. This coupon is valid until August the 18th, 2016, so head on over there and check them out. I really want to thank Jeff with Gigaparts. He has been extremely helpful helping me out getting this discount code for y'all, getting this brand new Generative Magic G-Mag 6 battery charger, shipping that to me for free. So that I can give it away on this podcast. So, Jeff, thank you very much for all your help, for all your advice. It has been very valuable. So, have you gone over to Gigaparts yet and got your $10 off your purchase? If you haven't, by the time this airs on the 9th, you will have 9 days left. The coupon code ETH030 expires on August the 18th. So a little bit more than a week is what you have left. So if you haven't gone and done it, why not? Go do it. Go over to Gigaparts, check them out. Look at all the stuff they have. They have bukus and bukus of stuff. And what they don't have in stock, they can get relatively fast and get it shipped to you. So there's even going to be some stuff on there from our last episode on the mesh nets. I actually emailed Jeff, asking him if these are available. He said that they are available, they can be ordered, and they are going to be getting them added to their site. So if I get a word back from Jeff that they're added, I will include links to those in last week's show notes, but also in this week's show notes. So head on over there, do your shopping, buy a new radio, buy a new computer, buy a new hard drive or RAM or a metal detector or a weather station or a whole bunch of stuff. You can buy a Raspberry Pi from them, an Arduino, a bunch. Just go over there, check them out, gigaparts.com. Do your shopping. When you get to $150, or you can't find anything else, whatever the dollar amount might be, as long as it's over $150. At checkout, put EHR07. You'll save $10 off your total price there. So do it now, because you got less than, or a little over a week left to do it. So yeah, do that. If you haven't, I don't know why. The other thing that I want to talk about before I move on, let's go ahead and announce the winner of the Generative Magic G-Mag 6 battery charger. You know what? Actually, before I do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it is, to make the rest of y'all that don't win maybe a little jealous of the person that won, okay? Basically what this thing is, it's a really neat thing, and there is a link to it in the show notes, so if you want to go and look at it, go look at it. But what this person has won is a total off-grid AA battery charger. And by off-grid, I mean it's totally off-grid. You need nothing from on-grid. You can find everything, well, pretty much. It might take a little bit of work, but you can bring along everything with you. Stick this in your go pack for disaster work, or your soda activations, or whatever, for AA battery chargers. Okay, basically, it comes with 6 AA batteries, and I believe it has like 1900 milliamps worth of batteries, AA batteries, so that's cool. They're rechargeable. They come with it. The charger has a tank on the back of it. It's a small, like, water tank, okay? You put 2 teaspoons of regular table salt, open up your salt shaker and pour it in, 2 tablespoons worth or 2 teaspoons worth. I'm not sure. I don't remember which off the top of my head. So you pour the salt in there, you pour the water in there until it comes out the little overflow hole that it has, and plug it up, and you're done. It's charging. And it'll charge 2 batteries in 40 minutes. It'll charge 4 batteries in 120 minutes. No, not 120 minutes. In 80 minutes, yeah. In an hour and 20 minutes, you can charge 4 batteries. Or you can charge 6 batteries in 2 hours to fully charge. Without plugging it in, without, shaking it, without doing anything. All you have to do, put the water in there, put the salt in there, put the batteries in there, and leave it alone. You can do that when you're walking. Put it in your backpack. It'll be charging while you're walking up the trail to your wherever you're going to activate on your soda, or on the hike that you're on, or when you're standing your post at a disaster. this is awesome. The only limitation that I see to it is it only works like 20 times. So it'll charge 6 batteries 20 times. So that makes like 90 batteries, basically, that you're going to have, that you're going to be able to charge without power. So, without further ado, drum roll please for the winner. Okay, so this is really interesting here. Okay, yeah, I know I just did that whole drum roll thing, built the thing up there, and I'm kind of letting you down here, but this is an awesome event. Okay, I talked to you a little bit ago about the person that sent me an email saying that he was trying to get his license and that he had found my podcast and thanking me for doing it. Okay, well, the winner of the GMAG giveaway is the person that sent me that email. How awesome is that? Fred Wilson. Send me an email, k5clm@everythinghamradio.com, with your address, your name, and I will get that to you. So I have not asked Fred if I could share his email, and I'm not going to do it word for word, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about what he said to me, and I hope this is okay with you, Fred. He basically says that he found my podcast last week, and he sent me this this past Tuesday when I released the last episode. He said he has been he is trying to get his license. He has 3 people from work that's going to take his test with him. His dad was a ham back in the 70s, and he just can't believe how long it's taken him to get his license. Fred, I don't know what's taking you so long either, bud. So go there, get your license, get on the air, and hopefully maybe one day we can talk to each other on the air. So Fred Wilson does not have a call sign yet, but has a brand new GMAG AA battery charger. Send me that email, name, address, and I will get that in the mail to you ASAP. So everybody, join me in saying congratulations to Fred. Okay, a couple of little things before we head back to the topic of today. I want to thank my wife. First off, we've talked a lot about my wife, and we're actually going to have an interview with her in a couple of weeks about her side of basically this story. What it's like to be the wife of a ham that's not a ham. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay, so what it's like for a non-ham wife to be married to a ham. Her view on it, her frustrations, her enjoyments, whatever, that comes from being married to a ham radio operator and not being a ham herself. So I've talked to you before about her and about her blog. She recently started, and it's been, I'm going to say like 2-3 months ago now, she started a blog of her very own after being frustrated with me for doing my blog and doing my podcast. She finally started her own blog. It's called More Than Safe, and it's basically about our journey through the foster care system, and it has just some general parenting stuff in there as well. So if you're not a foster parent and you don't have any plans on being a foster parent, but you are a regular parent, a biological parent, there is some stuff in there as well that can be helpful for you. So if you want to check that out, head on over to morethansafe.com and read what she's got there. There's a lot of really good articles that are up there already. She publishes a new post every Friday, so easy for you to remember. If you have a hard time remembering like me, you can subscribe to her email list. There is a link at the bottom of every post and on the sidebar to subscribe to her email list to get an email on when she publishes a new post. Speaking of that, actually not really speaking of that, because we're going to kind of shift gears now back to my blog and my podcast. If you like what you hear on this podcast, on other podcast episodes, what you read in my blog, stuff like that, and you want to help, if you want to help financially, thank you very much. There are several ways to do it. You can make a one-time donation through PayPal. You can become a monthly contributor through Patreon, or you can very easily just shop using one of my affiliate links on Amazon.com. I am trying to find some other affiliate links as well for stuff that y'all might like, but right now with Amazon.com, there is further details on each of those on my support page. You can find it at everythinghamradio.com/support. So head on over there, get some additional information about that, about how you can help. If you can't help, I totally understand. All my content will continue to remain free for your listening and enjoyment. So if you can't, I totally understand. If you want to help, thank you very much. And yeah, so let's get back to the topic of today. Okay, so we're back. And now on this segment of this podcast, we're going to be talking about the club that I belong to, that I helped start, and the majority of my community activity or community service activity is through this club. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. I did, like I said, do a club spotlight on it. Very first episode. You can listen to it at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/1. That's the number 1. Listen towards the end of it. You'll hear about the club itself. But we're going to go into more detail on it. Why we started it. The reasoning behind it. Some of the stuff that we do that I help with. And, just kind of give you like a broader background on what it is and what we do. So basically, I'm going to start by saying what it's for. Okay. In my church, my church is responsible for clothing and distribution for disasters. We're part of the VOAD national organization. And VOAD means Volunteer Organizations Assisting in Disaster. And this has stuff like the Red Cross, Salvation Army, Baptist Men, the Seventh-day Adventists, which is what I'm in, and several other things. And each group is responsible for different things. Well, like I said, we're responsible for clothing and distribution. We set up distribution centers in a disaster area if it's going to be a long-going event. We provide clothing for people and stuff like that. So, in our disaster relief program, we have 3 semi-trailers that are based where our club is, in a small little town called Keene, Texas. And each one of these trailers can clothe 2,000 people. You heard me right, 2,000 people. There's bins down both sides of the trailer on the inside that are broke up into sizes. There is, inside these bins, there's a bunch of individually wrapped and sealed changes of clothes. They'll have pants, they'll have shirts, they'll have socks and underwear, and they'll all be, packaged, sealed, and ready for delivery. It's kind of like that song, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Okay, sorry. But anyways, the packages, they have donated clothes. And by donated, I mean the pants and the shirt. I'm not saying that the underwear and the socks are donated. Please, by all means, they are not. They are brand new and never been used socks and underwear. So don't worry about that. But the pants and the shirts are donated. They are washed. They are mended if they need to be. They are, cleaned and pressed. Probably not pressed, but they're cleaned anyways, and put in packages, vacuum sealed, and ready to go. We also have blankets in there. We have what they call comfort kits in there, which are a washcloth, a towel, body soap, shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, all the comfort items. And everybody that comes through gets one of those as well. So, and these trucks or these trailers are ready to go at a moment's notice. We have two of them that are located in our main office in Keene, and then one down in the valley in, I want to say Westlaco, I think. But anyways, they're ready to go at a moment's notice. Normally we can be on the road within about 4 hours of being called. And we'll go down there, we'll set up at, a Home Depot parking lot or Walmart parking lot or something like that. And people can come there. They can, they fill out this little form with their name and their address, phone number, and their sizes. And, one person can go through and get it for their whole family, wife, husband, kids, whatever. So with this system that we have in place, in 1994, Houston had some major floods. And pretty much like it was, I believe it was earlier this year when they had some really bad floods. And we were actually down there this year as well. But anyways, back in 94, Houston had some major floods. And if you remember back in 1994, the cell phones were not like they are today. We didn't have these nice little iPhones and flip phones and Android phones and all that stuff. No, they were bag phones or car phones that were, permanently mounted in your car. My dad actually had one of those that was permanently mounted in his car. He actually had a bag phone as well. But anyways, in 1994, when Houston had this big flood, we went down there. And there were several people that went down to help out. And during that month when they were down there, their cell phone bill was $2,000 a piece for each phone, $2,000. And, granted, I can understand, yeah, you're down there in a disaster, you're going to be talking on the phone a lot. $2,000, that's not bad. But you figure, 5 people, $2,000, that's $10,000 right there. And on top of that, with all the flooding and stuff, power outages and stuff like that, cell phone towers were down. First few days to a week of any kind of major disaster, there's not going to be much cell service. So after that, the director of our community services approached my father, who went with me and got our license. Anyways, he approached him and asked him to start up some kind of radio club, and he knew about amateur radio, so he asked me, can you start up an amateur radio club to help us do our communications when it comes time to have a disaster or whatever, when we go on a disaster? So my dad's like, sure, no problem. So he approaches me and asked me, hey, you want to do this? You want to get your license? I'm like, sure. I'm like 15, 16 at the time, and it's something that I like to do, help people out. And I always have. But anyways, so we went and got our license, took the class, and at the time, the class was a week long. And so we took the class, did the studying, and we had to drive to a electronics store in Fort Worth to where a FCC person came out. I think it was that took our test. Maybe it was a VE team back then. I don't remember. I've slept too much since then. Anyways, they give tests on like Monday nights once a month. So we went up there, we took our test, and I passed. And at the time, I had a little harder than what y'all have nowadays. Of course, I had it easier than what some of the other older hams have had it in their days too. But when I took my test, I had to take 2 tests. I had to take my novice test, which was 30 questions, and I had to take the technician test, the no-code tech, which was also 30 questions. So each one of these tests came from a question pool of like 750 questions. So not only did I have to take read the novice questions, but I had to take the no-code tech questions too. So there was a lot of questions. Luckily I passed, and I think I passed by the skin of my teeth. I'm sure. Because I didn't finish through the technician class book, if I remember right. I was actually reading through the technician book the day of the test. But I passed, and I got my license. And at the time I was licensed, my call sign was Kilo Charlie 5, Papa Whiskey Papa. And my dad's is Papa Whiskey Quebec. So, we got our license, and we decided, let's go move forward with this club. And being the, quote, as my dad calls me, computer guru, he assigned me the task of finding people to come to the club. So we went on to QRZ, and we went in there and did a search by name. It listed everybody that was in Keene or Cleburne or Alvarado, the surrounding towns, and made up a letter and sent out a letter saying, hey, we're starting up a new hemp club. This is where it's going to be. This is when our first meeting is going to be, blah, blah, blah. Come and join us. First meeting was awesome. We had like 40, 50 people there. That was great. Unfortunately, not all the people that came there wanted to do what we were going to do. So, the first meeting, although I had 40, the second meeting had like 15. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. So we went, and we started this club, got it all organized, found our bylaws, and wrote the bylaws off of using, several different clubs' bylaws. We got everything situated. We actually had radios already for the club station, had antennas up, and all that good stuff. So we started the club, and since then we've gone on probably half a dozen disasters. Not so much of the way that it was originally intended on doing. We haven't gone to any that were major disasters like the floods in Houston in '94 to set up communications, but we have done a whole bunch here, reloading trucks, communicating back and forth with the trucks in the field and back here, stuff like that. And our club has evolved in a way that just amazes me. We started out with like 15, 20 charter members, I think. We had an old Swan HF radio. We had a 2-meter radio, I believe, and we had a packet station. And as time has progressed, we've gone from 15, 20 members up to like 35, I think, at its peak. And it's gone down to like another, back down to like 15, 20 people, and then back up, and then back down. And I've seen people my age come and go, where now it's generally older hams that are in our club now, unfortunately. The new blood has gone away and moved on to bigger and better things. And that's kind of sad, And if you remember a couple of episodes, we talked to Doug from the Harvard Wireless Society, or Wireless Club, about the youth in ham radio, how to keep them involved, how to get them involved. And he gave some pretty good ideas. So if your club is in the same predicament as my club is, check out that episode. It is episode, I don't remember which. I will look it up here while I'm talking and give y'all that number. But, check out that episode and listen to it. He's got some pretty good advice, especially there at the end. It is episode number 26. So, everythinghamradio.com/podcast/26. But I think basically the way to get them involved is to have fun stuff to do. Get away from the boring, okay, we gotta pay this bill, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and blah blah blah. But actually get out and do stuff. Go on fox hunts, go on simulated drills, stuff like that. And we actually tried to do that not too long ago, because our club is community services based, and so we actually tried to do something. We actually went and volunteered to do a little 2-mile stretch of the keep the highways clean. I don't know if everybody has it in every state, but here in Texas you can adopt a highway, and you basically adopt a road, typically like a farm to market road, a smaller highway, not an interstate or anything, but you can adopt 2-mile stretch, and once a quarter you do a trash pickup, and you walk along the side of the road with trash bags, pick it all up, put all the trash bags in one spot, and the state will come and pick them all up. Not only does it help keep our roads clean, but it also, is a community service type thing, and it's a fun way to get out and get involved. Unfortunately, not everybody was as committed, I guess, so to speak. Unfortunately, I was the one that recommended doing it, and I was the one that didn't show up very much because of other commitments. But it did get done. We did do our 2 years, and unfortunately, fortunately, one of the two, we don't do it anymore. But there's several things you can do. Hamfests, contests, several different ways that you can do to get your club active, to get your club getting the younger generation. But you also have to, target that younger generation. So, yeah, that's what we do. But anyways, you can find more information on our club if you'd like. You can go to k5aec.net. That's Kilo 5 Alpha Echo Charlie.net, and look at our website there. There's several different information there. Unfortunately, I have dropped the ball and have not kept it up very much, so I will try and do that after I get in recording and post-production on this episode. But, yeah, so that's what that is. So I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We're running about 51 minutes, so yeah, I've talked quite a bit, so sorry for the rambling, and sorry for the not really a general topic of this episode. It's just been basically me talking. I hope that you will listen to this, and you have listened to this episode all the way through. Yeah. So, don't forget to check out the show notes of this episode. You can get them at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/30. Also, don't forget to go to Gigaparts and get your $10 off your $150 purchase by using the code ETH030 at checkout. And also, I want to, again, congratulate our winner of our GMAG giveaway, Fred Wilson. Congratulations. Again, send me the email, your address, to k5clm at everythinghamradio.com, and I'll get that in the mail to you ASAP. If you want to help support this podcast, you can go to everythinghamradio.com/support for more information. Please like me on Facebook at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. Follow me on Twitter at K5CLM. You can also follow me on YouTube at youtube.com/everythinghamradio. Please like and subscribe. Give me a star rating, a good review on iTunes. On Stitcher, not Stitcher Radio. I'm on Google Play. For some reason, I can't figure out how to get Stitcher Radio to work. I'm also working on getting on iHeartRadio. I don't know what's taking it so long. It has been submitted, but it's been like 2 weeks since I submitted it, so I don't know if I'm actually going to get on there or not. But when or if I do, I will let y'all know that you can actually listen to me on iHeartRadio. And so, with that, I guess I will wrap it up. And again, thank you for listening. Next week, we're gonna, I don't know if next week we're gonna have an interview with my wife, or if we're gonna have something else. So, come back next week. It'll be a surprise to you. How about that? Alright, so, yeah. So, 73, y'all. And until next time, this is K5CLM, signing off.